Hi, and welcome to the summary and analysis of Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 2. If you're an educator, don't miss my Teaching Romeo and Juliet series, which is a whole other thing, also on the website. Finally, this is not a spoiler-free video, fair warning. But if you're good to go, then get creepy with Paris and crush a cup of wine as we dive into Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 2. So Scene 2 opens on Big Daddy Capulet talking with Paris, the most eligible bachelor in Verona. We catch them mid-conversation about the prince's promised death sentence should any more violence break out before Paris quickly shifts topic to his suit, meaning his request to marry Capulet's daughter, Juliet. And Big Daddy Capulet drops some important context in his reply. He says, "My child is yet a stranger in the world. She hath not seen the change of 14 years. Let 2 more summers wither in their pride, ere we may think her ripe to be a bride." So Juliet is 13, which is, and I know this is a different time, it's a different context. It's unfair to judge their choices against the morality that was formed by my cultural upbringing and norms. That's fine, but my argument is, and hear me out, ew. She's 13, and that's gross. So, fun note here, when Capulet instructs Paris to let 2 more summers wither in their pride, he is using an agricultural metaphor. He is saying, let the crops pass twice more through their summertime prime, their pride, and begin to wither with the coming of autumn. Afterward, then, like a farmer's crop, Juliet will be ripe for picking, which is a weird way to talk about your daughter. But bottom line, Big Daddy Capulet asks Paris to wait 2 more years. I would have recommended 15. Your 20s are really fun, everyone. But he assures Paris that he loves the idea, just not the timing. But hold on, it also turns out that tonight, Capulet is throwing a huge party, and he invites Paris to come and begin wooing Juliet. With that, Capulet turns to Peter, his servant, and gives him a piece of paper with a list of those he invited to the masquerade party. It's like a short notice masquerade party. It's one of those. Peter is meant to seek out the people on this list, but once he is alone on stage, he admits that he cannot read. Stay in school, kids. So Peter goes out in search of help, and he comes across Romeo and Benvolio. Benvolio is still getting after Romeo about getting over Rosaline. He says, "Tut man, one fire burns out another's burning." He means find a new woman and your feelings over Rosaline will burn out. It proves to be good advice ultimately, but also that is objectively not how fire works. We don't stop a forest fire by lighting another bigger forest fire. Peter walks by and interrupts them for help with his I can't read problem, and Romeo agrees to read the list aloud. It's full of Viennese muckety mucks, but he lights up when he comes across one entry in particular: my fair niece Rosaline and Livia. Suddenly, Romeo is all ears, and he finds out that this invite list is for a Capulet party, and what's more, Peter invites them too, saying, "And if you be not of the house of Montague, I pray come and crush a cup of wine." First of all, I love that euphemism for getting drunk. Crush a cup of wine. And also, they definitely are of the house of Montague, but they decide to go anyway, but for 2 different reasons. Benvolio says, "At this same ancient feast of Capulets sups the fair Rosaline, whom thou so loves, with all the admired beauties of Verona. Go thither, and with unattainted eye compare her face with some that I will show, and I will make thee think thy swan a crow." Romeo's response is intense and worth the effort to understand. He says, "When the devout religion of mine eye maintains such falsehoods, then turn tears to fire, and these who often drowned could never die, transparent heretics, be burnt for liars." Okay, so heretics were burnt at the stake because they believed that the devil would protect them from drowning. So Romeo is saying that if his eyes claim to see someone more beautiful than Rosaline, then they would be transparent or clearly heretics. And since his tears cannot drown his eyes because the old wily devil, his tears will turn to fire and burn out his eyes. Yeah, it's a lot. But honestly, considering what we know about Romeo so far, it kind of tracks. So ultimately, Romeo agrees to go, but not because he thinks Benvolio might be right. Instead, he goes simply to see Rosaline and be generally sad. Because he hates himself, I guess. What he says is that he's going to rejoice in splendor of mine own, but there hasn't been a lot of rejoicing recently, so I don't see how this is going to help. And that's the summary. So if we really want to understand Shakespeare, we gotta get deeper than just plot. Let's do a little analysis. So at the beginning of Scene 2, we see how Juliet stands within this society. She is an aristocratic woman, and while her father does seem like a decent man, at least now, she fundamentally has no power. Her options are severely constrained. At 13, her father is already arranging a marriage for her, and should all go to plan, at 15, she will pass neatly from the control of her father to the control of her husband. Then it's babies and then death, probably. And while neither dad nor potential husband seem particularly evil, in fact, Capulet gestures at her agency, saying, "But woo her, gentle Paris, get her heart. My will to her consent is but a part." That freedom is a freedom within a scope that they have chosen. Let's not get this confused with like actual agency for Juliet. Finally, Juliet's arranged marriage and the ongoing feud between these two families shows audiences that there are forces in this world far bigger than these two star-crossed kids. They might be doing the love boat thing, but that boat is in a hurricane. And that is worth pausing on, because we are saturated with a lot of like love conquers all stories, where the bond between these two people leap all societal obstacles and overcome, but this story, this is not one of them. This is a love never had a chance in hell. And that's Act 1, Scene 2. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the complete summary and analysis and teaching series, teaching unit, available now at onedayahead.com. Next time, we head to Act 1, Scene 3. We'll see you next time on One Day Ahead.